Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and we've got a very, very fun week today. We've got the jam. We're jamming out today. We've got the joint Academe and Mobility Week this week, and it is being led and spearheaded by our first guest today, Hubert Zydorek, Director of the Center for Global Business at UTD, University of Texas at Dallas. How are you, Hubert?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Ben?
I am awesome. It is good to be back. Janet and I, we took a week off last week from doing the program. We're well rested. We were at the IAM conference, and now we are back, and we were talking global mobility in a big way. I'm so excited about this. Like, I'll be honest with you, Hubert. When I heard about what you were doing, I was so thrilled because I talk to people all the time. I've done 200 something hours of interviews just this year. And every time we talk to somebody, it inevitably comes up in conversation that the running joke is nobody went to school for global mobility. Nobody went to school for this. And maybe with the exception of immigration, that's pretty much true. But here you are creating global mobility academic curriculum. That's awesome, man.
No, that's wonderful. And first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to spend an hour with you and all the guests here who are participating in this event. The second, thank you so much for devoting the entire week to this program. I mean, when I heard that, it was amazing. I said we're bringing students to actually talk about their classroom experience, the connection between the students and the corporate world. It's fantastic. I truly appreciate all your engagement and the promotion of this activity. So it's been a great journey, and I got to tell you that when I first came into my role at UTD, that was 5 years ago when I joined UTD in 2015. I realized that there's a great need for students to understand what global mobility is. When we start teaching and using the textbook to show theory behind this, they were like, okay, great, but tell me more about this. How do I actually get employment in this type of industry? So yeah. Telling them about this entire ecosystem was something that we wanted to build on from early on. So
yeah, and I love that, and you're so right about that. And I want to hear about the evolution of this idea, and I want to hear what your students are asking for, and I want to hear what the corporate world is asking for, and I want to hear all that. As we're getting started, we got people checking in right now. If you're watching right now, hit that like button, okay? Send out a little virtual applause there to Hubert, okay? Also, get in the comments. I want to see you in there, just giving yourself a shout out, give Hubert a shout out. Let us know where in the world you're watching from, because we got people from all over the world. We're going to check in with a few right now. We've got Kerwin. What's up, Kerwin? Singapore in the house.
Hi, Kerwin.
Always good to see Kerwin. Kerwin, it's literally 4 o'clock in the morning, man. Like you, on a Monday or a Tuesday. I don't even know. Go to bed. Love you, man. Henri, hello, everyone. Good evening from Europe. Henri, are you in France right now? Let us know. Shout out to Kerwin there. Sherry Wood. Hello, Hubert. Drew Phillips, good Monday afternoon from the windy California Bay Area. Drew, I hope you're doing all right up there with the fires. Let us know. Letitia, hi from Texas. Hey, we got a Texan.
We do, and Letitia is my teaching assistant.
Hey, Letitia. Hey, Letitia, tell us how Hubert is in real life, okay? Everybody from the show, they're very professional. They're all very nice. But let us know.
Let's wait until the end of the semester with that feedback.
Yes, we're going to do a full 360 midterm right now on our professor. Amanda Rakovsky, so excited to hear all about this. Thank you, Amanda. Right? Isn't this fascinating? Jack Jampel, hi from Philly. What's up, Jack? Good to see you, buddy. Love to hear. Hey, Jack, as you're watching right now, and all of you that are watching, I'd love to hear your questions also for Hubert. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where academia can plug into global mobility. What kinds of thought leadership, what kinds of research would you like to see? What would you like to see from the talent that's coming out of programs like this? I'd love to just kind of use this also just as a thinking session in a way as well, and we'll read your comments and we'll riff on those as well. Henri checking in there. And thinks he's in France. He doesn't know. He's in the Bordeaux. He doesn't know. Amanda, Larry from Kinetic signing in. What's up, Larry? Janaína from Brazil. Happy Monday. People are coming in left and right from Rio. Sherry says, interested in what topics are included in the curriculum. Why don't we just go ahead and answer that question right now? Hubert, talk to us a little bit about the curriculum, man.
Fantastic. So our undergraduate global business program consists of several core classes. We have global strategy, international financial management, we have international marketing, and we have global HR, which is what this class is all about. Training students to understand the challenges and opportunities of expatriate assignments, going through all the elements of HR from recruitment, selection, to learning and development, through performance management. That's what we're going to actually cover in class tomorrow, understanding the performance management of expatriate assignment, talking about compensation, and we are trying to actually have students understand what, how much, expatriates actually make during these assignments. And get them excited about international assignments in general, because these are global business students. So they have to be out there at some point in their careers to help us manage the activities and operations around the world. So
Sherry and everybody watching, I'd love to hear what you think that should be in the curriculum. I'm really fascinated to hear. But Hubert, now let's back up just a minute and help everybody understand, where does this class sit within the school and the discipline at large? Help us understand the structure.
So this is, as I mentioned, this is one of our core classes that sit within the Bachelor of Science of Global Business. Okay. The Bachelor of Science of Global Business requires 120 semester credit hours that all students have to complete before finishing up with an undergraduate degree. Typically, the core classes that I just mentioned are part of their final semester, so either late junior or early senior to last semester of their graduating period. And so students who are coming into all these core classes, including global HR, have the foundation and the skill set and the research and the resources to be able to apply that into their writing, and this is what we're trying to do through this class.
I love this so much, and people are digging this right now. Sherry's loving it. She says that's impressive. Hubert, we've got people checking in from North Carolina, San Diego. Letitia's over here. She understands this is midterm. She still has nice things to say so far. She hasn't been pulling all-nighters, grading finals or anything like that. We got Cleveland in the house. Drew's saying everything's good up in California, which is great. Victoria McCullough, who's in Dallas also, who has great experience, I think, working for Cardis and Pepsi and some of those companies. So I want to ask you this question. We got Dubai checking in as well. This is fantastic. We've got DC area. Okay. All right. I'm going to take user, viewer questions. I'm going to prioritize those. So whatever questions you have, I've got my own questions, but I'm going to make this about you, the audience. So Sandra says, logging in from Alexandria, Virginia. Question: when you talk about program performance and finance, I'd love to know how ROI and program success is defined in the program. Great topic. Sandra threw you a fastball high and inside. This is a tough question wrapped up in a really nice, sweet, great topic. So let's see. Hubert.
Absolutely. The ROI and performance. The ROI is hearing from corporates, hearing from the industry to tell us how great our program is, to understand what the skill set and competencies that our students are graduating with. And then hearing that immediate feedback 6 months out or a year after the students have graduated, and hearing back from the company who was able to employ that student after graduation, saying, "Wow, this is a fantastic student. I wish I had more of them." And this is what sparks the collaboration between us and the industry, because they are wanting to get more. They are asking for more students like that. And this is where the conversation starts. It starts with, fantastic, what do you need from us? How can we bridge that gap, and how can we actually build something that you are looking for?
And I want to talk about the way that this kind of folds into industry and all that. But I think Sandra's question pertains more, and Sandra, you can let us know, also pertains to kind of how is ROI defined for ROI for mobility programs for that expat, right? How are you determining the ROI on that expat assignment for the purpose of discussion in the classroom? And I say it's almost kind of an unfair question because I've dealt with this question before. I've brought in experts from talent, academia, from University of San Francisco and other universities to talk about this. And frankly, I've never really been satisfied with the answer. But I think, so I'm going to answer my own question from earlier. What topics would I love to see covered in this? I would love to see a project around calculating ROI. But the more I seek the answer to that, the more I realize that it's almost an impossibility. Have you had any success around calculating or quantifying the ROI on expat assignments?
No, and let me take a step back, because when we talk about this class, this is if you think about it, this is the first time the students are actually hearing about global mobility and the entire ecosystem, what actually contributes to global mobility. So I think there needs to be could be a follow-up course or an additional project after this that could be taken over by a student organization in the global mobility world that could actually expand on that and look into this question and topic as part of their competition, for example, student competition.
It almost seems like a research project, maybe even at a graduate level or something potentially.
Exactly.
This is really cool. We got one more question here before I get into my stuff, because I do want to understand how this came about. Henri says, Hubert, what do you enjoy most about the impact your school has on your students?
Oh, we have so many activities going on. We've had a lot of face-to-face activities before COVID. Having an opportunity to bring students together, to tell them about all these great programs that we have, having them giving them an opportunity to travel outside of the United States. One of the requirements of the Bachelor of Science in Global Business is actually exploring an international experience that can be done through study abroad, one semester, or international internship that students typically engage in during their summer semesters, or 2 faculty-led trips. So we have typically two faculty-led trips throughout the year that on which we are taking students to all sorts of places around the world. And these are not sightseeing tours. These are actually trips to a country where students are able to learn about the industry, about the economy. We're able to visit a number of places that contribute to this country's economy. So it's because of COVID, we have moved a lot of the activities to virtual, but we are still continuing to see a lot of engagement from students, even in this virtual environment.
I love it. I hear things like travel and things like that with the students and showing them hands-on, what it might look like. And it gets me excited. Kerwin says, and Kerwin, this is great feedback actually, because Kerwin is the head of mobility for Hewlett Packard Enterprise, so he has great perspective on this. He says ROI is in the eye of the beholder. For the business investing in the move, it can be about short-term fulfillment of the goals of the move. For the talent, it could be about advancement and development. For the enterprise, it could be about retention. Okay. See, I love how Kerwin thinks. He thinks on so many different strata, so strategically. But it's true. I mean, for enterprise, it could be about retention, because if that talent's not finding that opportunity, this high potential talent, they might leave to go find that opportunity elsewhere. And so I think some of the more forward-thinking organizations out there are thinking about how do we create opportunities that are win-wins for the enterprise and for the talents.
Absolutely. And that's one of the topics that students are actually researching right now. How is that development? How is that investment? And how is that retention going to look like? So what are the challenges of HR departments right now to make sure that they are actually having those students in place, having that new talent in place, and how do we keep that talent from going somewhere else?
So okay, so I got to ask this question because I want to kind of tell the story here, right? Because I understand why I and people like me who are watching this would think that this is a great idea. But how did you come to this conclusion? I mean, do you have a global mobility background, or what were you doing before you were doing this at the Center for Global Business at UTD?
I do not, and thank you so much for asking this question, because I was in the shoes of my students many years ago, and looking into international business and international relations as a way to find opportunities around the world. But I quite frankly, I didn't know what those opportunities were. And this is where a lot of our students are trying to figure out, if I'm global business, what does that mean? Where does that lead me? Traveling around the world is fun, but there's got to be a business purpose behind it. So understanding what that business is, what the purpose is giving them truly a guidance on how to actually progress from entry level to from internship to entry level, and from entry level to mid level opportunities. So I spent the first right after my undergraduate studies, I spent the first 15 years working for an e-learning enterprise for one of the big four accounting firms. And that's taken me to a number of places. I spent several months managing projects from India. I was able to actually help to launch European headquarters right after 9/11. We were able to actually start our European headquarters in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Spent two years there, and then managing global resources around the world, working on global learning and development projects with resources from countries Mexico, India, China, and Malaysia, and so on. And being able to work with subject matter experts from around the world led me to management opportunities in the future. And so I spent 15 years. Yeah.
So this is interesting. So you were both a expat and a customer of global mobility, in that you were sourcing talents from, and utilizing global mobility to get them where you needed them, to get the right people in the right places to do the right things. And so that's interesting. So I want to know, and before we go on, hit that like button, leave a comment, ask a question right now. Just take a moment. Hubert, as a person who was a customer of global mobility and the global mobility process, what were some of the things that you identified early on where you said, these are opportunities, or these are maybe some skill sets that I would like to see, or these are maybe some capabilities that I would like to see more of?
Yeah, it was about the challenges that were in place when we started to relocate to the Netherlands, and we saw that there was, for example, not enough learning and development, not enough preparation for the assignment itself. Understanding what kind of skills are required for the expatriate experience. In addition to my basic skills and in terms of cross-cultural understanding, what are some things that you need to have in your tool set to be able to really execute an international assignment? One of the things was, for example, I wish I had known a lot more, or we had a process in place about performance management during expatriate assignments, understanding what are my objectives, what are the things that I'm going to be measured by through that assignment, and when I return, when I repatriate back to the U.S.
So let me ask you then, what are some of the things that you want to leave students with when they emerge from this class? What are some of the key learning objectives that you have in mind?
Well, there are a number. One is for them to understand the entire ecosystem around the global mobility, which is they don't know who the suppliers of all the services are, and this was one of the challenges I discovered several years ago when I started teaching. They don't really know what contributes to this entire ecosystem. So we spent the first few lectures to let them know who are the companies that really contribute to supporting international assignments and expatriates around the world. And so that is one thing, giving them an opportunity to learn about this entire ecosystem. And then the second is also, how do I, as a student of global business that I'm about to graduate within 1 or 2 semesters, how can I be part of this global mobility industry? How do I find work? How do I find internships? These are some main things that we want to make sure as a base for our students to understand after graduation.
Are these kids, and I say kids, I mean, are they all young people, or do you have people who are
mostly young? Yeah.
So I'm going to call them kids, right? That makes
kids.
Hey, these kids, right? These kids these days, right? So what are these kids looking for? Are they looking for, they're taking just a class kind of along a different path, or do you find some of them really saying, gosh, I didn't know this existed, and I want to potentially actually explore a career in global mobility?
Well, interesting question, because they have to be in this class. It's their requirement, right?
Right.
So
requisite. Yeah. So
exactly, it's a requirement for me. So I have to sit in this class. and typically when I talk to students, I said, I know you have to be here, so let's make the most out of it, right? Let's learn something. Let's find some great opportunities for you to benefit you after graduation. And this becomes, how do we do that? How do I really get them engaged into something meaningful they're gonna leave with and really remember this activity from my last year of undergraduate, my global HR class, that's gonna really come back in the next couple of years. So
I'd like to know, if you're watching this right now and you're thinking about, man, my organization could really use some fresh young talent, right? Because I think, frankly, we all think that from time to time, right? What kinds of skill sets would you like to see these kids graduate a course like this? I'd love to know. So throw that in the comments. I want to know more about that. And then, Hubert, along that line, how are you now? And this is probably a good segue into the program that's actually going on right now, and maybe outline how you are working with industry to create something that's new, that's never been done before. Why don't you just kind of unveil this whole thing for us, if you don't mind?
Right, absolutely. So when I joined the university, one of my roles was to actually, and the reason why I was brought to be part of this university was to help bridge the gap or bridge the relationship and the collaboration with the industry. So all the corporate partnerships that I've had, all the global network that I had, I was able to actually utilize those networks to help students obtain internships and be able to give them an opportunity to start going out and start finding mentors that would help them to navigate through their future careers within global business. So when I came in, we started with theory, but one of my first blueprints was, how do I actually what are the touch points with the industry? Corporate projects, having let me start before that. Let me start with speakers, bringing industry representatives from various areas, global supply chain, HR, international marketing, bringing folks to classroom and let them speak about their experiences, let them speak about the journey that they had.
Who was the first company that you partnered with?
The first company that I partnered with was Altair Global, and thank you so much, Altair. Shout out
to Altair.
Laura in Altair. And it happened. Let me give you a quick story about that. So one of the evenings, this class was the first couple of semesters. It was delivered only in the evenings. I had a student in my class, and we are going through the lecture. And after the lecture, the student comes up and says, "You know, what you say in class aligns 95% with what I'm actually doing, you know, day to day in my job." And I said, "Tell me more about your job. Who's your employer? What do you do?" And she started talking to me about Altair and everything that she does to support expatriates around the world. And I said, well, let's talk about how can we generate more activity with Altair, and this is how this relationship has started. So
you brought Altair in the mix, and what was that partnership like, and then what did that grow into?
So we started again. It starts with speakers. We asked Altair if they could bring additional speakers to our class. To talk about the industry, to talk about the challenges, the opportunities, that's what we had for the first couple of semesters. And then we said, well, let us sit down and find a way that we can do something together. So more touch points. Can we create possibly a project that students can think through in the class and then present back to you at the end of the semester? With a little bit of your support throughout the semester, what is the outcome that you would like to see? So we start to kind of narrow down the topics. We start looking at how do we actually give students the right mentorship and experience through that. And for several years, we've been actually I've been working with Altair we started with one topic, and then it grew to more topics, and then we had more groups to actually present on various topics. So it was really a really hands-on experience. What our students really enjoyed most at the end was to be able to present to Altair and the Altair executives and leadership in the headquarters. We would actually gather the entire class, and we would travel together, and we would meet at Altair's headquarters, and the students would deliver their presentations based on the requirements. And it was really exciting because students was like, wow, this is the first time I'm standing in front of the CEO or the senior VP and talking about global mobility, something that I just learned in class.
That's got to be so cool for a student to go into that building. I've been to that building in Plano. It's a nice building too. And you walk in there, you're like, okay, this is a real thing. This isn't just like, you know, Hubert over here talking about it. This is like a real thing, right? And so that's got to be awesome for them. And this year is a little different, right? And this year has different constraints. So I want to talk about, first of all, if you have any questions right now, leave them in the comments. We're going to get to those in a few minutes here. So just leave them, hit that like button. If you haven't done that already, leave it in there. We're going to make sure we get to everybody's questions and comments. So we haven't actually told them though what it's grown into, right? So so it started with this partnership with Altair Global and just kind of getting more and more kind of topics thrown at you, it sounds like. And then at some point you decided, okay, let's involve more industry partners. Let's really formalize this project work. What has it grown into? What are we doing this year?
So this year is different. We've grown that one project into a really cohesive opportunity for students to learn from the experts, multiple experts, and I'll talk about that next, but also be supported from mentors from different companies that contribute to the global mobility ecosystem. So last year, I had the pleasure of meeting Kerwin Guillermo, whom you introduced before.
Shout out to Kerwin.
Shout out to Kerwin. And once we started to talk, he's full of ideas. I'm full of ideas. We were able to sit down and I told him what we do in our global HR classes. And And we started to brainstorm, and I said, well, let me design a class, and then I'd like you to I would like you to help me and introduce me to other leaders in global mobility to help to support this environment, to help to support this initiative. And he was really quick to react. I showed him a draft, and he said, let's go with it. Let's start working on it. And he was able to actually bring six speakers to class virtually. So we have 6 companies that are being represented, and thank you so much to all the companies that came in and delivered their short webinars based on global mobility from different areas, from legal to suppliers to recipients. And then we also had the opportunity to bring 7 industry mentors, people who would be working with 7 groups. We have 46 students in the classroom right now. And we've been able to divide that class into 7 teams. So we needed 7 topics to come to basically.
So let me stop, because I want to get some details here, because I'm sure we know some of these companies. So who are some of the companies, if you could share, who are some of the companies that have actually maybe done some talks with your class?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had Deloitte. We've had Serva, we had Weichert, we have Aon, Crown World Mobility, Grable.
Wow. Those are great. I mean, those are the biggest names. I mean, those are huge. And then, so who are so tell me about the teams. You said you have 42, is it 42?
46 students.
46 students. You're breaking them into 7 teams. Is that right?
Correct.
And how are these teams structured? What are they doing?
Yeah, so the teams have been dedicated to work on each individual topic. Each team has a team leader, student leader, who's driving the relationship between the team and the mentor. So they are required to meet once a week with their mentor to address questions that are supplementing their research. So over the last couple of months, they have been meeting every single week, basically, to address questions that they are finding through research. So it's a lot of support from companies like Ogletree, Ineo, Expedia, Altair is part of it, KPMG, Borg Warner, and Toyota. We have a number of companies that are taking part of this experience.
And a lot on the corporate HR side, it sounds like, who have kind of opened up and kind of. So you're talking to people. You just mentioned companies. You mentioned accounting companies. You mentioned a legal and immigration company. You mentioned RMCs. You've mentioned a lot of corporate HR folks. I mean, you've really covered the gamut. This sounds like I want to do this class. Like, I want to be in this class. Like, this sounds really fun. We've got people checking in here. Henri's like, oh, you guys are working with us? Cool. He's with Crown. So some of you don't even know that this is going on even at your own company. So this is really cool that we're talking to people and letting people know this. Letitia's in here giving some support as well. We've got, so many people coming in here. And I want to hear, okay, before we get into all the topics, keep the topics and the questions coming. Kerwin saying impressive roster. It sure is. It really is. Tell us what some of these topics, do you know some of these topics that we're talking about? I mean, I'm sure we want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a few here. We have implication of the immigration platform of U.S. presidential candidates. So students are looking at what are different immigration platforms that the candidates are proposing, and how will that impact global mobility? How will that impact talent that we need in the world? They are I typically review drafts and outlines with students, and the findings that they come up with are really eye-opening. How different they are should one candidate be chosen over the other. So it's really going to impact.
What a great how topical. I mean, And what's interesting about it to me is like you have a before and after right in the middle of your semester, right? You have pre-election, post-election, like you almost can
Just
even
in time.
like, wow, what a great topic. What else? What other topics are you guys working on?
One of the topics that we have, if you were to design a talent mobility program today, highlight how you could showcase an application of employee engagement as it advances HR practices on attract, retain, and develop.
That's kind of like what Kerwin was talking about as far as retention and development of talent. Wow, and kind of designing and thinking about it from the ground up.
Absolutely. We have a few more. What are in the next normal environment where an estimated 50% could be working remotely, defining the business imperative for investment in culture and wellness. How will the recruitment, retention, and engagement change? What new risks should HR be more mindful of as shifts from the next normal become more apparent? So looking at having students go through this exercise and understand how COVID is impacting global business in the first place, but global mobility, and then what are some learnings coming out of it, and what are we going to see after this is over? So,
and the fact that they're getting to work with HR partners on this, right, and people who are actually in the real world, right, and I love that, and getting feedback from their coach. You call them coaches or mentors?
Mentors, yeah.
Mentors, yeah.
Mentors.
That's fantastic. So this week, so what we've done is Hubert and I have dedicated this whole week of Love and Relo to the joint Academe-Mobility. We've made it the week. And so we are bringing out, and you see it across the bottom. Thanks to Janet for running this across the bottom. We are running a full week of content spotlighting all of the folks who are involved. Tuesday, we've got Lee Gonzalez from Toyota. He's going to be here talking about the program. We've got Wednesday, Ellie Sullivan from Weicker. Thursday, we've got Laura Gattens from Altair Global. Friday, we've got Nidal Lafi and Greg Zelizny from UTD, who are actual students who are going to be on here Friday. So we've got the whole gamut. This is really cool, man. I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much for having everybody here. This is awesome. Very excited to see the kids. Honestly, those are the ones I want to talk to and see what they're learning. We've got a bunch of comments coming in here, and I want to hear those from you. So let's just keep them coming in here. Anka says perfect. The way they already go through an expat assignment, even if not a long-term one, before even joining the industry. Talking about the travel that you would do with the students. Yes. To get that experience. Is that something that's done in the global business school in general, or is it something that's done in this class?
No, global business program. So this is one of the requirements that we have. So every student before graduating, they have to do either an international internship, study abroad, which is 1 semester with our partner institution, or 2 of those faculty-led trips. These are typically, like I mentioned, very short, organized, packaged experiences around the world, and we try to take them to different parts of the world, not only European continent where everybody would like to go, but also to developing countries for them to see what global business truly looks like.
Love it, absolutely love it. Janet says, will you bring the students into supplier resources around the globe, i.e. movers, temp living? You talked a little bit about discussing suppliers. How does that dovetail into the curriculum?
So can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, suppliers, like moving, moving companies, temporary living and furnished accommodations companies. I guess it, could apply to tax as well. Could apply to DSPs, destination service providers. As suppliers, right? And I'll raise my hand with one of those too. Always wondering, how we fit in, and do we have a seat at the table? Right, because we're the ones that are oftentimes boots on the ground making things happen.
Yeah, so we work with a number of preferred companies that that are helping us to design what those experiences look like. And I think they typically work with all these suppliers to help us design the experience on the ground. So with everything that we have going on right now, we are actually working on understanding what kind of experiences are we going to create, short term and long term, to benefit our students, and bring some of those companies to help us design some of these experiences going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also important too when students think about careers in global mobility, because most of the careers in global mobility are on the supplier side. You know,
Yep.
there's just more
Yep.
jobs, frankly, over here, right, on this side. So I think that's interesting. Sandra Clary corrects me: students, young professionals, future colleagues. I should call them more than just kids. We'll call them more than that when they get their degree. Okay, they still got to pass the class. All right, they're kids so far. Just kidding. Mena El-Safari, I think this is a question that's on everybody's mind. She says, do you think that with COVID period and the restriction of movement in place, the mobility career will be attractive? What do you think the value proposition for the mobility career is right now, Hubert?
I think this is a topic on the agenda, and students are actually exploring this through research, understanding because they didn't have the understanding of how the world of mobility looked before COVID. So that was the introduction to the subject. How the world of global mobility looked before COVID, to be able to understand what changes and what impact will COVID have on you guys, on your community.
I love that you say that though, Hubert, too, because it's all about mindset, right? Like, so if you come into this world and this is day one for you, this is your normal. This isn't the new normal. This is the only normal. Okay. So if you walk into the business world and this is what you're dealing with, like, so many businesses that are started in this period right now will be successful because they've started in such a hard time. Whereas so many businesses that go into this, or professionals that go into this period, will have a hard time because it's disproportionately difficult to where they came from. So I think we're actually kind of almost underselling the opportunity for the students and the opportunity for companies that are created in this time.
Exactly.
Because they're created under such hardship, right? That you can't help but be successful when you emerge from it, you know?
Exactly. Evaluating, and this is something that we actually go through in this program. Having them understand what are the roles of expatriates, right? Why are people moving around the world in the first place, and how COVID is impacting those operations around the world, and what is going to be possibly changing in that within those expatriate assignments. Students are truly eager to. They all want to travel, as you can imagine, because they are part of the global business program. But they know that one of the tasks in the beginning that they had was to actually review and read about 10 industry reports how COVID is impacting global business activities. So having that as a foundation, that gives them a little bit of understanding how the global mobility part will play into it.
Yeah. Kerwin says, I believe programs like this with professors who have experienced industry will bring about a generation of mobility professionals that will make what we leave behind better.
Thank you, Kerwin.
Awesome.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah, that's why Kerwin's such a great thought partner. He's like always positive. He sees a way. Let's see here. On the topic of what types of curriculum do you want to see? Drew Phillips from Sterling Lexicon says, I simply want to know the curriculum. Hubert, are there textbooks? Everybody thinks about their college experience carrying around like massive textbooks, going to book buyback. My first job, I think, in college was working at the bookstore doing book buyback for $5.25 an hour upstate New York. He said, are there textbooks? What is the first step assignment? In my humble opinion, this class should be required for so many degrees.
Yes, and we do. Thank you so much for your question, Drew. We do have a textbook. It's very short, International Human Resource Management. That's the title, the 7th edition. And this class takes place twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. we devoted the every Tuesday basically to cover the chapters within from that textbook. And what I mentioned is pretty nicely laid out in terms of staffing, recruitment and selection, performance management, learning and development, and compensation, and so on. And then the Thursday activities were based on the seminars from the or webinars from the companies that we mentioned in the beginning. Now that the webinars are over, we are concentrating our Thursday class only on finalizing the case studies and the project. So going through feedback, understanding what are the gaps that students still have in their case studies, and what are the understanding the solution, the possible solutions that they are trying to provide to the mentors.
I feel like you must be really under a lot of pressure to cram a lot of material in, because you're teaching kind of a foundational understanding of global mobility and making enough time to actually do an applied case study. I mean, that's got to be hard to cram all that into one semester. I almost feel like that's like 2 classes crammed into one.
I do, and that's absolutely right. And there should be there should be maybe another course that's devoted to maybe global human resource management too, that's devoted on the just on the project itself. But one of the things that I wanted to mention was that as of this year, there is a requirement for all graduating students to go through a capstone experience, capstone project. So this is a new requirement for all of our new students coming in that starts this fall. So one of the things that could happen potentially is that these types of projects are part of our capstone experience in the next couple of years, where we have students not only from the global business program, mostly majority, but from other courses, other programs such as supply chain marketing and so on.
Right.
And they could actually bring a little bit more flavor as well. So this could potentially be a capstone experience in the future.
So companies that are watching this, and people are in the comments, left and right, leave a like and an applause. Hit that applause button for Hubert there and all the kids and all the mentors. But people are getting very engaged here, and they're excited about it as I am. If they want their company to get involved, if they want to get involved, how do they raise their hand and say, I want to be a part of a kid's capstone project? I want to be, a mentor. I want to speak. I want to get involved. How do they do that?
Absolutely. We are open. I'm open to collaboration with industry. I'm open to collaborating with your company. I would be happy to sit down and talk about what your needs are and what you are looking for, and what kind of talent what you're looking for. As I mentioned, we bring industry to our classes through various means, through various experiences, through speaking events, through projects, through competitions. One of the things that we also do is create a platform for student competitions where our student groups are actually working with different companies and say, well, give me a problem. I'm eager to learn about your problems. How can we help you innovate? How can we help you brainstorm this problem that you have? And we want your feedback. So at the end, we want you to come back and judge us and tell us how, if we helped you to solve this problem, or what are some things that you can help us with here. So I'm super open.
I love this. I love the idea of competitions. I love the idea of presentations. I love the idea of getting involved with the kids and bringing the kids forward and even helping them to build their brand in a small way in this industry. So how about this, Hubert? When you guys, have your presentations and you have this competition, I would love to have some of those winners or some of those contestants on the show to present their final project, because I know that there's a lot of, just looking at the comments right now, I know there's a lot of people out there that would love to see this. So do you think we can have these kids on Love and Relo to show their finished product?
Absolutely. I think they would be happy to. I think we're
Nice.
already talking about how can I express what I've done here. I know we're going to be talking to two of my students later this week, but let's talk to the winners. Let's talk about the learnings that they have actually experienced through this class, and talk about, what made them the winners, right? What was the content, the thought, the methodology, the research that they've conducted. So absolutely.
I love this. This is great. Letitia says, trust me, students are working super hard to turn in their individual assignments while developing their group projects addressing real life global mobility issues. Hey, that's college, right? You got to juggle a lot of balls there.
Exactly.
Sure. Mena wants to get involved. Janet talking about it. Let's see here. This is great. This is great. Henri says, imagine this today. We are starting Mobility 101. And you see a whole major potentially dedicated to this or something. Oh, this is great. Drew appreciates the breakdown here. Let's see what Tom's up to. Tom Brune is over here. He says, Tom says the mentoring angle is one of the main reasons this U of T initiative is so groundbreaking. This is the 5th year of this program, and as someone who started my mobility career many decades ago, the concept of mentoring simply wasn't talked about. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying I would have benefited from more of that early in my career, says Tom. That's awesome. Very self-aware. But yeah, Tom, you're right. I mean, we just kind of get in here and we just kind of learn on the fly, right? Oftentimes we're the only person in our organization on the HR side that even knows what we do, frankly. And on the supplier side, it's also very niche, So that's great. Kerwin says to Tom, good afternoon. I absolutely agree. The mentoring you have extended, not just about the case study, you're shaping the views of what their career could be and inspire them for years to come. That's got to be the coolest part. I mean, Hubert, you work with young people all the time. I mean, what is that like?
It's inspiring. It gives you so much energy. As you grow older, you need to step back and put yourself in the shoes of what are these students going through? What kind of decisions are they making? Is this the right decision? And our leadership here at the school believes in a three-legged stool mentoring type activity, which is one comes from us program directors, one comes from industry, and one comes from their peers. So you're not alone in this thing. You're not alone. There's so much information. There's so much activity around you. It may be overwhelming. So you need to bounce your ideas, bounce your questions, your challenges by all these folks around you, and having a simple thing, just talking through your resume. What kind of skills you need to be able to apply for your entry-level job of interest, for example. Are the skills that you have on your resume right now, are they matching up what the employers are looking for? And
Right.
That's something that I do typically with about 10 students a week, to go through all my students in the program within 2 semesters. I need to be sitting down and talking to them because they come from versatile backgrounds. They are looking for different ways to engage in international institutions, global business. Some of them are going to graduate. Some of them are talking about going to law school. So they're partnering global business with international political economy. Some of them are actually looking to. I have one student who's currently in London Business School. He just started his actually graduate work there. I have one student who just came back from his global leadership program from Shanghai. It's not one size fits all. You have to wear many hats. You have to approach every student with this custom mentoring of some sort, right?
Yeah.
You really have to think about what's best for the student, what's best for his or her career. And students like to see themselves in different roles, but ultimately, understanding your skills, understanding your competencies, and understanding what the opportunities are there that can actually present you with the comfort of working for those companies. So
I think it'd be so cool to have a mentee, that was doing this. I mean, I know we've got, gosh, we probably have enough people watching this right now to mentor everybody in the class, on a one-on-one basis. I mean, I how could you see us using something like Love and Relo, something like these platforms, something, of the community that maybe help me understand or help me ideate a way that we could leverage the community we have here to support what you're doing in academia?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for asking this question, Ben. Ideas are great, but we need to actually structure a program that helps our students understand what the opportunities are within global mobility. That's what we've done with the global HR class, but also go beyond that and have maybe a mentoring program for those students who are looking to work for the global mobility companies. Having more speakers come to our classes, having more industry representatives come and engage and be part of our student-led organization as mentors. One of the things that we haven't had yet, but we are actually just getting this off the ground, and actually this class is going to be a perfect platform for that, is we're thinking about starting a global mobility club. It's a student-run organization that will help to navigate and help to understand what the challenges and what the interest and opportunities are within the global mobility community. So being a liaison between the global mobility community and the students, by understanding what the needs are, by understanding of what we can create in the future to help you deliver what you need, and at the same time be the recipients of that knowledge, of that expertise on our side, and so mutual benefit.
Well, if I can support the Global Mobility Club, let me know. I think it'd be really cool to create a LinkedIn group around it as well, so we could all get together on LinkedIn. We could share ideas. The alums of the club could stay in touch. It could be a place where jobs are also posted. I mean, all sorts of things, right? So, wow, that's cool. We got some more comments here. I want to try to get to all of them. I know we're running out of time. Victoria says, have you had companies enroll their HR professionals in your class to give them the background needed to go global?
Yes, absolutely. We've had a number of HR professionals talk to our students. One thing you mentioned, theory. As we cover theory, we need that corporate engagement. We need that HR representation to come and talk to our students. What does it take to actually go global? So we have that threaded basically throughout every semester, and we appreciate any type of support that you can provide to us. So feel free to reach out and we can start the conversation.
Awesome. Way to go. Put it right back on him, Hubert. Say, come on, You want to give me something? Give it to me. Meta says, how does studying mobility shortcut the years of experience? And this is kind of a combo question with Henri here. From my observation, building an expertise in this industry takes time and quite a bit of networking. How do you prepare your students to make up for their relative lack of experience when they apply for a job? Henri and Meta, I think you're right. But I also say part of the reason it takes so long is because we don't teach it and train it very well. But I'll let Hubert answer the question.
Yeah, and there's, as you mentioned, there is very little awareness from the start. So one of the things that I've done when I joined the university is created a global business success roadmap for our students, basically designing a plan for every single semester, for every single year of their studies at UTD, and one of the things that are key components to their success is experience throughout the study. So understanding when is the right time for you to get into an internship, local internship within global mobility early on, identifying those opportunities right maybe in their sophomore year, so they get their feet wet, and then in their junior or senior year, giving them additional opportunities for international experience around the world. And then, so giving them opportunities, 2 or 3 opportunities, should close some of these gaps. And obviously, one of the things that we are striving to do is to make sure that the students who are graduating with our degrees, who have the interest and desire to work in global mobility, are able to be feeders to some of your companies. So tell us what you need. Tell us how we can actually give additional experiences to our students, so when they are ready to graduate, they know exactly where to go, what's required by the companies, what's required by the suppliers, and we're happy to work with you and change the curriculum based on what your needs are as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. I think, yeah, I could almost see like a job fair, or like some sort of a thing where we come in, we talk about key roles that we're actually hiring for, and how, and the skills that would go into that, both, I guess, maybe entry level, but also kind of key, where it's like, here's a career path up, right, as well. Jamie Master says, do the classes you offer credits towards the CRP or GMS designation, continuing education? So Worldwide ERC has CRP, Certified Relocation Professional, or Global Mobility Specialist designations. Do you get CRP credits for any of this?
Not at this moment, but I'm open to a conversation to understand what it takes to actually provide credits. And I'm happy to explore that in the future. So
yeah, I see with that. I mean, let's be honest. Most of these students aren't probably ERC members, right? So CRP credits may not, necessarily translate or be important. Right. But I do see some of like the relocation 101, stuff in curriculum that they teach could be interesting as well. Let's see here. Mena says, what I can see that the mobility industry is more common in the USA and Europe, and actually there is no focus in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East regions. Are you covering this part of the world in the curriculum?
We do, because we want them to, first thing that we are trying to make sure that they understand is where the economic activity is going to come from in the upcoming years, in the next couple of decades.
Asia, so they need to, huge.
So that's the foundation, right? And by understanding that the Asian region is growing, and the economic activity has shifted from west to east, they need to understand what's behind it, how global mobility is supporting all of that. We have, you mentioned Africa. We have actually, I have taken students to Ethiopia. We spent a month basically working with a number of students to implement a sustainability project, dehydration project. And we are starting to engage with companies in Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Uganda as well, to understand the environment, but to understand also the requirements for our students to be able to function in the development of the African continent. And that's what's been done over the last couple of years.
Wow, that's awesome. Sandra says, I love the wisdom in understanding the different roles and industries into which a student might aspire. And Letitia, thank you so much for shouting out the mentors. Anka Haberland out here in Detroit. What's up, Anka? Caroline Tang, Laura Gattens, Lee Gonzalez, Melissa Dennis, Tanya Maritini. What's up, Tanya? And Tom Brun. This has been great. I'm so excited about this whole week. This whole week is chock full of these types of conversations about how industry can partner with academia in order to create this just next level thought leadership, this next level talent pipeline. It's really the future, in my opinion, and I think we just need to continue to build on it more and more and more. Hubert, thank you so much for being here. It's really been a pleasure. I want to give you the opportunity before we close, and thank you to everybody who tuned in, and make sure you see Lee Gonzalez from Toyota tomorrow. But before we go, Hubert, I just want to leave you with the opportunity to kind of just leave us with a final thought, as we consider these partnerships and Jam Week here.
Absolutely, and this aligns with what I posted on LinkedIn today, which is, it takes a village, it takes a community to raise great talent within global mobility, to raise global talent, which our students are aspiring to be. And none of this would have happened without your inspiration, without your effort, without your support. And I thank all the mentors, all the webinar speakers. I thank Kerwin for such a dedication and such a contribution and to this initiative. And I'd like all of us to connect in the future. Please feel free to connect with me to start discussions about how can we take it to the next level, build on this, and create a new generation of global talent.
Love it. I think that's a great way to end it. Hey, everybody, make sure if you haven't already hit that like button, throw those applause out to Hubert. Thank you so much for watching and getting involved in the chat. I can't wait to see you tomorrow when we got Lee Gonzalez from Toyota. Let everybody know. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your kids if they're looking for a school to go to and learn something. Hubert is out there. This has been great. Hubert, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Ben. Truly appreciate your contribution. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. Take care, everybody. And